talking about Caspa for quite some time. I obviously utilize Caspa profits to transition out of Caspa into mining Bitcoin. And a lot of that has to do with the economics of Caspa in general. And one of the big arguments that a lot of people seem to keep bringing up, so we're just going to clarify all of this right now, is that Marathon Digital is mining Caspa. Now, they're mining quite a lot of Caspa, and they are selling the Caspa. Now, some people have told me, well, they're not selling it. Well, I have proof that they're selling it. We're going to go over their quarterly reports here, their Q10s, and I'm going to give you guys the update, because I think at the end of the day, there just seems to be a lot of poor research, and the community is trying to drive you into purchasing the cryptocurrency, regardless of whatever it is, without giving you the full information of what is going on with the project. Now, why would this matter, right? Well, early on, this matters because it creates sell pressure on the network. And sell pressure on the network, especially in a time right now when alts are bleeding, means that you essentially have less potential to stay within parity of Bitcoin, which is clearly happening, right? And a lot of this has to do with the straight up fact, I think, as Crypto Crag said in chat, that, you know, people would rather hold Bitcoin than Caspa. And that's just, it's not, it doesn't mean Caspa's bad. It just means people want to hold Bitcoin more than Caspa, and to lie to yourself and say that it's any different is only hurting yourself and only making you lose some f***ing money. So why would you do that? Why would you do for the community? Again, with the community? Shut up. We get a reality check here, guys. Mining is a business, okay? You run a business as a miner. Your job is to remain whole, generate revenue, and pay your gosh darn power bill. That's your job. All right? Your job's not to hold the cryptocurrency until it maybe goes up, maybe sort of kind of, and then you watch that thing dive into the freaking dirt and you can't make your money back. That's not your job. You have a specific place in the market as a miner. All right? So where we really have to start is here. And this is back when we had Marathon essentially announce that they were mining Caspa, gave us some initial details. And this is important because this will work out the math to understand the next Q10 report. So this is an article by Cointelegraph, and Marathon is looking to capitalize on higher margins possible with Caspa mining. Now, remember, back at this time, Caspa miners were making significantly more than Bitcoin miners. And one executive stressed the firm is in no way pivoting from its main focus, which is Bitcoin. Bitcoin mining heavyweight Marathon Digital revealed it has mined already $16 million worth of Caspa. Keep in mind, this is on June 27th of 2024. In a June 26th announcement, Marathon Digital said the move allowed the firm to capitalize on their higher margins possible with Caspa mining machines, which are up to 95% in some cases. By mining Caspa, we are able to create a stream of revenue that is diversified from Bitcoin. Key term here is a stream of revenue. Okay? We're not talking about a Bitcoin balance sheet here, right? Also, it's important to note that this is all going to be able to change here because of the change in regulations and your capability of basically reporting your balance sheet of digital assets. So this will change strategies on these big companies. Keep that in mind. Marathon has mined $93 million, Caspa, not $93 million. It's $16 million at the time. It's significantly lower, I think, right now. We'll have to take a look, but I think it was like 16 cents at the time. Since it's deployed its first batch of Caspa miners in September. So essentially, if we take a look at that, that's September, October, November, December, January, February, March, April, May, June. 9 months, okay? That's going to be important for later, all right? Marathon has purchased roughly 60 petahashes of ASICs to mine Kaspa tokens, and half of that is currently operational, while the remainder will be installed sometime in the third quarter. So why is this important? We had a 50% increase in hash rate in the third quarter of 2024, okay? With 50% of the hash rate right now, or at this time, they had mined 93 million Kaspa tokens, okay? Half capacity, 93 million tokens, okay? This is going to be important because we're going to look at the Q4, Q10 report, okay? Kaspa mining isn't a pivot. So they do go ahead and say that Kaspa will represent just 1% of their energy once fully deployed. And they had mined 9,761 Bitcoin worth 594 million since September, meaning its Kaspa mining operations have only made up a small fraction of the firm's total mining revenue. Despite that, KAS rallied at that time, blah, blah, blah. All right, so what are we looking for, right? We want to say, okay, well, what are they doing with their Kaspa? You can always go to Mara and take a look at their Form 10Qs to figure out what they're holding on their balance sheet. So what have we learned? With half of their hash rate, they earned 93 million tokens in Kaspa by June 27. They then doubled their hash rate. And remember, we do have declining emissions, but it's a halving every year, right? About. So, and then since June, we've had 6, 7, 8 months. So about twice the amount of time, but really we have to cut 2 months off of that. So you basically have 6 months versus 9 months. So about 2/3 essentially of the mining time with double the hash power, to give you an idea. So if we do a Control F on this sheet and search for Kaspa, we can go down to the amount of Kaspa in Q4 that they were holding. Now remember, by June, they already had 93 million and doubled their hash power. They had already sold off a majority of that because they were only holding 107 million Kaspa by the end of September, right? Or December. Or yeah, September of 2024. Another thing that's stated here is that the company began evaluating Kaspa as a potential way to diversify its revenue while continuing to utilize its current infrastructure and expertise in digital asset compute. After successfully deploying its first Kaspa ASICs in September of 2023, the company had begun scaling its operations. At September 30th of 2024, the company held approximately 107 million Kaspa coins on its condensed consolidated balance sheet with a fair value of 17.1 million, just $1 million above what they had in June. So about 50% of it theoretically has been sold at this point, at least 50% of their holdings, right? The company intends to add its Kaspa holdings primarily through its production activities, as now we incur significant less cost to produce Kaspa in US dollar terms, which helps us pay for our expenses and allows us to hold a larger amount of Bitcoin on our condensed consolidated balance sheets. They're telling you that they're selling Kaspa to hold more Bitcoin. So keep that in mind, right? They're literally telling you that they've doubled their hash power, and they only have 107 million on their balance sheet. Okay. So if you want to really see what's going on, Mara is selling their Bitcoin. Is that bad? So let's get into this, right? Because what do I always say? What's your job as a miner? Your job as a miner is to provide liquidity to the market. So in general, this is not a bad thing. This is just a reality, right? This is Mara's place. So what has to be in place to counteract that? There has to be adoption, right? Now, what is Kaspa doing for adoption? Well, they're clearly doing things like creating essentially their ERC20 competitor. They're creating DeFi, all these sorts of things. The question will be is like, will it have the same adoption rate as something like Solana or Ethereum even? And that's really yet to be seen. So there really has to be the obvious demand for the supply that's being created by Mara. Meaning, I don't think that Marathon Digital is doing anything wrong. I'm not going to say, oh, Marathon Digital shouldn't be selling their Caspa, they should be holding it. Because I generally believe that miners hold a very specific point in the ecosystem, which is to mine and sell, right? Now, we have a few things, of course. Cryptopreneur said, I remember you were happy to sell Caspa at 1 cent. No, I didn't sell Caspa at 1 cent. Sold it at 4 cents, just in case you were wondering. And I bought Bitcoin miners. I shorted it from 1 cent to 4 cents, or from 4 cents to 1 cent, which was pretty good. And then as far as wrong math, let me know. And then, yeah, CryptoCrack selling KAS for OPEX. Obviously, that's what's going on. And then Nate says, Mara mining Caspa to sell is going to be the biggest flop in history. I don't think so necessarily. Here's why. Because you have one of two ways for this to go, right? You either, so if you're a miner, there's two ways the Caspa goes. Either Caspa gets no adoption, they run out of emissions, and the miners are worth nothing. In which case, well, they used it to increase their Bitcoin holdings and they're winning, right? Or the price of Caspa goes up significantly due to the fast emissions, okay? And significantly increases the price, and the miners that Mara has are making more money. In which case, they're still good. The correct play is to get the profits out. They're doing the correct play because they're protected on either side, right? Especially considering that Caspa's had some of the quickest releases of efficiency on miners that I've ever seen on altcoin, right? We've seen the KS1, KS2s, KS3s, KS, 5s going all the way up in huge increases in efficiency. You're churning and burning bricks, right? You're just bring it in, mine on it, throw it out. Bring it in, mine on it, throw it out. Bring it in, mine on it, throw it out. That's what's going on. So that's kind of what we're seeing as far as all that's concerned. Now, what should, like, obviously, like a home miner is not going to be able to mine Caspa with these types of competitors in play. So if you want to participate in Caspa, I mean, by all means, go and buy it. If you're focused on mining, then, I mean, at this point, I think you just ignore it for the most part. There is the case, of course, like I've said before, buy a couple really cheap ones when they're cheap and sit on them. That's the same for Bitcoin, though. It's really no different, right? Geek of All Trades says, got to pay the bills, and if you can't do that while holding your long-term bag, that's the goal, or should be at least. Right, and if you're a large company, what is, like, do you want to be holding Caspa, or do you want to be holding what essentially Strategy, Michael Saylor from Strategy is continuing to make large purchases of, right? Not to mention Bitcoin strategic reserves at a national level, at state levels, all that sort of thing. It's just a smart financial decision. It's not rocket science here. I hope you enjoyed this clip from the Crypto Mining Show. If you would like to see more from this particular episode, take a look up here. Don't forget to also subscribe to the channel. And if you want to support me directly, you can go to sonofatech.locals.com and become a member. Thanks for watching, and I will see you next Tuesday.